in the mirror. Man, you so dirty. Yeah, you look so dirty. You were never worthy. Lately, it's you.
Welcome to the Jeremy Hill Show. If you're easily triggered, leave now because this is not the show for you. Now, what I'm going to do today is, ladies and gentlemen, I want to teach the gentlemen out there about the differences between prenuptial agreements and asset trust. I want to show you that having an asset trust is better protection for your resources and the assets that you have accumulated over years of hard work than a prenuptial agreement. I'm going to be speaking about financial abuse that men are going through when it comes to dealing with women. So, excuse me, I guess my sound was too loud. I apologize for that. Anyway, long story short, I'm going to play some clips out of fair use. This is an educational video that's going to teach you about the differences between prenuptial agreements and asset trust and discretionary trust. Different types of trust that can protect your assets. That will be the third or fourth clip where a lawyer will explain that to you in great detail. If you are planning to get married, gentlemen, I want you to already have the mindset that your marriage may not work out down the road because women file damn near 80% of all divorces, and that number skyrockets to 90% if the woman is highly educated and has multiple degrees. Okay? So I'm making this video to help protect you, basically. I may make a number 2 or part 2 of this, but anyway, let me pull up that clip for you. And the first thing we're going to see right now is a gentleman who called off his wedding simply because his woman that he was going to marry refused to sign a prenuptial agreement. And he did the right thing by that. Let's get started as I pull it up.
It's just been about money with her. It's just been about money the whole time. That's the one that I was, my wedding was getting ready to start. And I had been telling her 2 months before we was going to Texas, look, I'm telling you now, you need to sign this prenup because I'm telling you, don't try me when I get there. You're not going to dictate how I take care of my mom and my sister and all. I know what you're up to. And by the fact that we're going through this, it's showing me a different side of you because we never had these type of conversations.
Yeah.
So, and with still my heart, a month is a month. We're getting ready to go down to prepare for the wedding that week. She still hasn't signed it. So I'm like, look, bro.
What was the argument? I just want to know.
It really wasn't no argument. She kept saying she was going to sign it. I'm going to sign it.
That was a stall tactic. She was hoping that she could actually get the marriage official first. She had no intentions of signing a prenuptial agreement with Stephen Jackson, who this gentleman is right now, because a prenuptial agreement has the ability to show the agendas of both parties. I truly believe, man or woman, if you enter into a marriage, you should leave with what you brought in. I know over years of time of years, y'all may accumulate things together. Well, those things that you accumulated together, y'all can split that. But if a gentleman is coming to you with $1 million or $20 million, for example, and most men don't have that, but let's use that as an example. If he enters into a marriage with $20 million and you enter into it with $250,000, he should not have to depart with that $20 million that he brought into it. Women today want what you have accumulated with her as well as what you brought into the relationships, which is unfair. So I can't wait to show you this clip about how you can protect yourself better with an asset trust than you can with a prenuptial agreement. Let's go.
I'm going to sign it, but kept getting the attitude every time I brought it to her. So I'm telling her, I'm like, look, I'm going to embarrass you in front of all these people. Don't do it. Like, don't do it. But she know my heart. Like, she know my heart. And she thought that we was going to get there. Everything was going to be set. I was going to be dressed. And I wasn't going to turn back right there. I was going to have Kofi, you know what I'm saying, go through with it. So I'm sitting in the back, and I got, Mike, Bibby, Stephon, Marbury, all people who really love me, know what I've been through to get to this point. Everybody's so happy for me. Rest in peace, my grandmother. My mom was on the way to the wedding. My mama told me this after the wedding. My grandmother told my mom, it ain't gonna be no wedding today, on the way to the wedding. So not even knowing what was going on, she just said it out the blue. So while we back there getting
I want you to realize that this gentleman protected himself on the day of his wedding. It was his wedding day that he said, I'm not going to marry this woman because she has refused to sign all the paperwork that contain or pertain to a prenuptial agreement.
We had a nanny at the time because we just had a daughter. And I'm telling like, man, go get it. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do this. So she keeps going back, trying to pull her out. And my sister's in the room because my sister was in the wedding. So my sister's in the room. So all her bridesmaids are telling her not to sign it. Telling the girl, they in the room with my sister. So my sister walked out and just came in where the men was and just basically told me what was going on in there.
Again, another example of single women keeping women single. Single women, possibly single, keeping a woman who is about to get married single. Giving ill advice to a woman. Telling her what she should or should not do about her situation with her man. Telling her not to sign it.
Right? So I told her to go back. So to go back, and I said, and I talked to Steph and them, and, broke down for a minute. I'm saying, start crying for a minute. I'm just trying to figure it out. And I'm glad I had my boys there. They was like, bro, you can't do that, bro. You work too hard. Like, it's something up, you know what I'm saying? So I called it off. I ended up wasting like close to $400,000 on the wedding. Just wasted, and we ended up just, partying, and our relationship never been the same since. We ended up having another son afterward, ended up getting back together and dating and trying to make it work for my daughter. And the same thing ended up happening.
And she never said why she wouldn't sign.
I know why. Yeah, she had motives. It's been the whole time.
Exactly, gentlemen. If a woman, see, you gotta understand, man, love is a great thing to have, but love doesn't guarantee marriage anymore. Not with the mindsets of today's modern day women. I believe that, marriage is a divine institution that God designed. That's my personal belief. But when I consider the mindsets of the women that we have today, it does seem very unwise to marry one of these Black American women, in my most humble opinion today, because you could actually destroy your life now with the woman that you marry. Now I'm going to play another clip, and the third or the fourth one is going to be with the lawyer who's going to teach you about the difference between prenuptial agreements and asset trust. And I highly recommend that you go for an asset trust. It will protect you far better than a prenuptial agreement. But let me play this first.
His money is her money, and her money is her money.
This is exactly what it sounds like when you're dating a narcissistic woman. As a psychotherapist who has mainly male clients, this is a story I hear all the time. Financial abuse, when you're with a narcissistic woman, goes hand in hand. They will make it clear that their money is their money and your money is also their money. And they get to decide exactly how you spend your money, when you spend your money, and how much of your money you're allowed. Does this sound familiar? Hit me up in the comments.
Now, I think a lot of us I've heard a lot of men jokingly say that their money is her money and her money is her money. That's not how it's supposed to be. Her money is supposed to be yours if you're the head of the household. You're supposed to be the one who designates stuff. See, that's what happens when you have these 50-50 relationships and you see everybody as your equal. That's why I don't believe in 50-50 relationships. I never will. I don't care who don't like what I say. I don't give a damn. I don't believe in 50-50. I believe in 100% leading everything and having the most leverage in a relationship. But that's my humble opinion. Now, I also want you to understand that when it comes to financial abuse, normally it's the person who has the most money who does the abusing, trying to keep the other person hostage because they make more money. This is why you have situations where women are sometimes afraid to leave marriages or relationships because they don't have enough money to do so. They don't have enough money to go someplace. They have to go with family members or whatnot. But there are often times where there are people who make less money or no money at all who are in relationships with women or what have you, and they abuse the person by manipulating them. Like women will manipulate men who have the most money into buying expensive gifts, taking them out on trips and stuff like that because they know that they have that man wrap around their pinkies. So we're going to cover that, and then after this clip right here, I'm going to get to the lawyer, and it's a long clip, but I think it's going to be very informative for you. I think it's going to protect you in the long run. So let me play this clip first, and the last clip after this is going to be extremely informative for you gentlemen. And I highly advise you to take notes, pay attention, rewind this video 1,200 times if you need to understand but you may need an asset trust more than you need a prenuptial agreement to protect yourselves. Let me go ahead and play this clip.
Because financial abuse isn't something that only women experience. Sometimes men can also go through this. Now, if you're not familiar with this type of abuse, it's basically when someone uses money to control another. And in relationships, it's typically the person who earns the most money doing the abusing. But sometimes the reverse can happen where the person who doesn't earn an income or the person who earns less becomes the abuser. I will give you a few examples of how some women might commit financial abuse. And if any of this sounds familiar, or if you do any of this, don't shoot the messenger. First way a girlfriend or a wife might commit financial abuse is refusing to work and contribute to the household when her partner needs help. In other words, your man might work 2 or 3 jobs, he might never be home, he might always be tired, and he's asking you to help. Even though you're capable of working, you might be like, nope, not gonna happen, you figure it out. Now, on the
That is a lazy woman. If you're the gentleman who's working and you are providing for everything in the household, and all she has to do is actually sit around and be a lady, be feminine, fold clothes, wash your clothes, all these little things, and she won't do it, that is a lazy, unthankful woman.
On the other hand, if your guy does not mind working around the clock and he's perfectly okay with you being a stay-at-home wife or girlfriend and you both are agreeable to that, that's a different story. Another sign is manipulating your husband or maybe your boyfriend to buy you expensive gifts that you know he can't afford. This might include jewelry, expensive vacations, going out to eat at expensive restaurants, clothes, and so forth, and then demeaning him if he refuses or says he can't.
Having you buy cars for her that you know you can't afford, to where you have to put yourself underneath financial strain, financial burden, just to make this woman happy, that is also a form of financial abuse. And then she puts you down because you say no, because we need to look at our budget, we need to save, and she puts you down and say, I need a baller. My last man, he would do it, and all this crash like that. That is a form of financial abuse. Now let's get to the good part, the meat and potatoes, the creme de la creme, the star of the show. I hope this helped somebody out there, and we finna play it right now. You have got to see this. Let me go ahead and make the screen big for you so you can get all the stuff you need to see. Let's get into it. School is in.
Hi, this is the business guy. So what's better, an asset protection trust or prenuptial agreement? We're going to answer that question, and then I'm going to give you some examples as to which one works better in the real world. Now, you can set up an asset protection trust yourself without the intervention of your future spouse. An experienced professional creates the trust, you put your assets inside it, and established properly and legally, we have seen the proper trust very effectively protect assets from divorce. With a prenuptial agreement, on the other hand, you must hire an attorney who represents only you. Your future spouse must hire a separate attorney that represents only him or her. The 2 attorneys hammer out the terms. Your fiance's attorney fights for more, yours fights for less, and then after battling, the 2 parties usually come to an agreement. You both sign, and then if there's a divorce, opposing counsel can challenge the validity of the prenuptial agreement and poke holes in it, rendering it ineffective and leaving your assets exposed. Now, a trust, especially an offshore trust, where our offshore trustee law firm is outside of the jurisdiction of your local courts, is very difficult to challenge. In fact, we have never seen one of our clients lose money in a divorce case for whom we have established an offshore asset protection trust. And we've helped establish both trusts and prenuptial agreements. However, from our decades of experience, we have seen the trust as the most effective option for most people. Protecting yourself from divorce. You're about to marry the love of your life. Talking about trusts and prenuptial agreements right now isn't exactly romantic, but it's smart. They say marriage is when a man and woman become one. But the fighting starts when they try to decide which one. Your assets, especially high-value assets, may be at risk down the line. Divorce may be the last thing on your minds, but the American Psychological Association cites that 40 to 50% of first marriages in the United States end up in divorce.
Now, I want you to think about the numbers of what he says. 40 to 50% of all first-time marriages end in divorce. Now think about all the money that many men have lost in their marriage. They call it their first marriage, whatever. But think about all the money they have lost, all the money they have worked hard for, all of the assets that they have acquired over a lifetime that they had to split in half. There's men who are paying thousands in alimony, men who are paying thousands in child support, men who have to give women lump sums out of the divorce, men who have given women thousands, even millions of dollars in this stuff, just so that they can keep living the way they want to live without you. You're not with them anymore, but they want you to pay for their new lifestyle of being single. Gentlemen, pay attention to what this gentleman here is telling you on the screen. Learn from this, look these things up, and if you're considering marriage, also consider that it may also end in divorce years later. Of course, that's not what you think right now. Of course, you're not feeling that right now because you're so in love. And that's cool. But ask yourself, don't you think what you feel is what most men felt when they got married? Love. And now they can't stand a woman. Let's keep going.
The rate for subsequent marriages is even higher. Even if you and your partner never divorce, there are also outside lawsuits, as well as the future death of a spouse to consider. Without trusts, prenuptial agreements, or an asset protection plan, you're vulnerable to the whims of a judge. An asset protection trust, especially a Cook Islands Trust in the South Pacific or a Nevis Trust in the Caribbean, are the strongest asset protection tools we employ. In fact, we have established more of them than anybody on the planet. Our international law firm / trustee can step in to protect you when needed, and being international, they're not subject to the court orders of a rogue judge. In that light, how helpful is a trust or a prenup? How do you know which strategy is right for you? In this video, we'll define a trust and a prenuptial agreement and then compare them side by side. But defining terms. Before we explore the differences between a trust and a prenuptial agreement, we'll define those terms first. Now, there are two main types of trusts: revocable and irrevocable trusts. Both trusts are an important part of estate planning. These trusts manage or protect assets as the trust grantor or owner ages. The trust verbiage determines how assets are managed and distributed to beneficiaries after death. Investopedia defines an irrevocable trust as a fiduciary agreement that has terms that cannot be modified or amended or terminated. Often the grantor, the one who formed the trust, such as you, or the grantor's named beneficiaries, can request that the trustee make certain changes. Conversely, a revocable trust is one in which the grantor can alter or cancel provisions included in the trust. Now, this allows for flexibility and income for the grantors who earn money from the trust during his or her lifetime. An irrevocable trust, properly structured, has an added benefit of protection from creditors. But a revocable trust allows the grantor to cancel the trust and reclaim the property at any time. Thus, the grantor's creditors can generally do the same. Once a revocable trust grantor dies, however, the trust becomes irrevocable. Okay, now a prenuptial agreement. A prenuptial agreement is a contract that two people create before entering into marriage. Most often, this agreement focuses on outlining the terms associated with dividing up financial assets and responsibilities at the end of the marriage. Couples decide to get a prenuptial agreement or a prenup for a variety of reasons. Setting up a trust before marriage can be one of the keys to keeping assets separate from your partner. There are several benefits to putting your high-value assets into a trust. When an experienced organization, such as ours, drafts the terms and conditions of the trust carefully, it can be very effective asset protection. It can even protect your assets in the case of legal action against your spouse. The law usually considers any assets placed into a trust as separate property, as long as you created it before marriage. And this is especially important for business owners if you own real estate. Putting property into a trust gives ownership of the property to the trust instead of you. So a future ex-spouse.
See? So whatever you had before the marriage is protected through a trust more than it is in a prenuptial agreement. There are prenuptial agreements where, look at Tyrese Gibson and his ex-wife Samantha Lee, I believe. She has taken that man to court several times through different law firms to try to battle the prenuptial agreement that she signed before they got married. Even though she has not been able to be successful, Tyrese Gibson himself, the singer, the actor, has said that he has already spent about nearly $500,000 fighting off the different lawyers that she has sent to destroy the prenuptial agreement. So you still can lose money. Your prenuptial agreement can still be challenged. So a trust protects everything that you have. Let's keep going.
spouse has no claim on that property. The law does not consider assets you place into a discretionary trust as belonging to the beneficiary when it comes to alimony. A discretionary trust is one you have set up for the benefit of one or more beneficiaries. The laws vary by state, but most states uphold that one cannot enforce a claim for alimony against a trust that one created prior to marriage. Trust benefits even when you stay married, even if you remain with your partner. A trust is a great asset protection tool. Lawsuits from your business or an automobile accident could create a huge financial strain if you aren't prepared. The best way to protect yourself is to make yourself the smallest financial target possible. Trusts take away the ownership of assets, and the less that you personally own, the less there is for a lawsuit to take from you. With the right kind of asset protection trust, you can have access to the use of the assets as needed within the protective guidelines. Therefore, a trust can prevent a lot of financial problems no matter what comes your way. I mean, as Henny Youngman said, the secret of a happy marriage remains a secret. Benefits of a prenuptial agreement. People often associate a prenuptial agreement to protect assets with celebrities and the extremely wealthy. But they have many more uses. People of all ages and many different situations can benefit from a prenup. Irag Legal explains that if you have a significant premarital estate, it is a good idea to make sure that your spouse will only get as much as you wish in the event of divorce or death. Now, this is especially true if you want to protect.
She gets as much as you wish, not as much as the judge deems that she should get when you have a trust.
Protect the inheritance of your children from a previous relationship. A prenup can also protect income and assets acquired during your marriage. Without setting the terms at the beginning of a marriage, you may end up paying unexpected support or alimony to your ex-spouse. Now, what you put into a prenuptial agreement is dependent on what's important to you. The requirements by state vary on a prenup, but many of them require that each party have their own attorney present. Doing so helps prevent a court from declaring the prenuptial agreement invalid. Now, a prenuptial agreement is a binding contract, but you are able to mutually amend it later in the form of a post-nuptial agreement if your circumstances change. Prenuptial agreements are also good ways to protect some of your intangible assets. This includes, but is not necessarily limited to, intellectual property and business ventures. So which one is better? In our years of experience, the answer for most people is an asset protection trust. To be clear, this is not just any trust. It is a trust that you structure specifically with asset protection in mind. Both a trust and a prenuptial agreement have their benefits, but which one is right for you? And the answer depends on your situation. If you have significant assets to protect, based on decades in the asset protection field, I have seen that the trust is most likely the best choice. One of the key differences between these types of asset protection strategies is how many parties they involve. Using a trust to protect assets in divorce is something that you can do alone, whereas a prenuptial agreement requires the agreement and signature of both parties in the marriage. It's also important to note, if you create a prenuptial agreement, it needs to be done right. An agreement that isn't written correctly can leave room for an attorney to find loopholes. Anything not in writing clearly can be contested in a divorce court. Prenuptial agreement weaknesses. The bottom line is, a prenuptial agreement makes you plan your divorce before you get married. If there is a great way to throw water on the fire of a romance, this is it. If there's a great way to get your future spouse's mind to focus on marriage failure before you tie the knot, this is it. He or she will leave to hire a separate attorney. Their attorney will go over all the legalities of the divorce and will negotiate to get as much of your assets as possible should the marriage fail. After divorce, opposing counsel can poke holes in the validity of the agreement, push for more, and invoke any of a series of theories of legal liability. A proper trust, on the other hand, protects assets regardless of the validity of a prenuptial agreement. Kick it up a notch and set up the asset protection trust and trust bank account offshore. When you do this, the offshore trust takes the assets out of the jurisdiction of your local courts. For decades, we have established offshore trusts, and we have not seen one of our clients lose money through a judgment or divorce proceeding.
Gentlemen, the best thing for you is to get an asset protection trust, not a prenuptial agreement. When you're dealing with an asset protection trust, you can do that by yourself. If you go through a prenuptial agreement, you have to hire a lawyer. She got to hire a lawyer. You got to spend money. She got to spend money. And y'all got to wait a certain amount of time for both sides to come to an agreement and stuff over what you worked hard for. So, gentlemen, an asset protection trust is more reliable, more secure than a prenuptial agreement. For years, we always hear prenuptial, prenup. That's because we've been ignorant. A lot of people that are not my color knows more about asset protection trust, and they've been keeping that type of information to themselves. And this is not being racist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what I personally believe. That's my humble opinion. Now, if you are really serious about trying to keep everything in your life that you have worked hard for, that you have shed blood, sweat, and tears for, I implore you to look into asset protection trust and get all the information you need and pay what you got to pay to get it. It's not worth losing half your stuff simply because you are willfully ignorant and decide to go ahead and keep getting the prenups because people talk about prenup. I've just given you facts, data, and statistics. I had a lawyer on here to tell you about it. Look, save yourselves, black men, as they say. Get you an asset protection trust. You can do this without her knowledge as you make your way to the altar. Anyway, you let me know what you think about this subject. I hope this really helped somebody today. That's the goal at the end of this. Take it easy now, you hear?